been too long. It's been too long, Jeff Goodman. My name is Rob Dauster. We are here to the Field of 68 After Dark, the first After Dark of the season where we actually have college basketball games to talk about. Jeff, I am sitting here right now. I am watching Virginia. They're kind of pulling away from North Carolina Central right now. I'm watching the reigning not the reigning national champions, but the number one team in the country, North Carolina, struggle a little bit with UNC Wilmington. We have Illinois on another TV. I have USC on another screen. It's great to be back in college basketball season where you just have this flood of information flying at you. What's going on, man? How you doing?
It is great. I mean, I looked at the slate and I was like underwhelmed, but then when the game started going, it was almost like the issue was every game was kind of the same tonight. So you didn't know which game to watch because they're all bye games for the most part, other than, and credit to this guy, Bruce Pearl. I'm going to wear this tonight just for Bruce Pearl because he actually scheduled somebody. So I want to give him some props, give him some credit. He scheduled a dangerous George Mason team that he beat, not easily, but like they controlled it for the most part. So kudos to Bruce Pearl. But anyway, it's great to be back. Even though I have to see your sorry ass every single night.
Love it. You love it.
You going to wash that Daddy Brad shirt ever?
Yes, I do. It's actually it's nice and clean. I literally just did a load of laundry today. So I just you can even see the wrinkles from coming out of the dryer today, man. Right. So let's dive into what happened tonight because we were talking about this a little bit off air. It was very much a night where everything happened. And it feels like none of it was really all that meaningful. So take me through what was the biggest story for you tonight? What's your biggest takeaway from what we saw on the first night of college basketball season?
Well, I think, again, probably for me, it was the lack of star freshmen. And you had a lot of them that weren't playing at all. Nick Smith has a minor knee injury. He doesn't play tonight for Arkansas. Duke's duo, two of their best two players, at least ranked, Derek Lively and Dariq Whitehead, both didn't play tonight. And we don't know how much longer. I think Lively will be back sooner than Whitehead. Cam Whitmore from Villanova, another one. So that's like 4 of the top 15 players in the country that didn't play at all tonight. So usually I feel like we have this huge bang with the freshmen. And, somebody has Zion a few years ago, comes out of the gates and has this monster performance. And it's not just him. It's a bunch of freshmen. Tonight, we really didn't have that. The best freshman performance might have been Grady Dick of Kansas. 23 points, shot the hell out of the ball. That's probably, I think, more of what we're going to see from Grady Dick. I think he might be, along with Jalen Wilson, who had a great night, he might be the two guys that carry them offensively. Now, I don't know if Grady can guard you, but he can score. He can really, really score, and he can jump a lot higher than you, as shown by that one time.
We saw that dunk. I think that part of the reason why we're having that debate and having that conversation is because of the issues that we have in college basketball on opening night. And to me, that's the single biggest storyline in the sport coming out of the first night. It's like, why do we have to sit here and try to manufacture hype for games that, like, let's be honest, if this was the middle of January, would anybody be paying attention to a game like St. Louis and Murray State? Would anybody really care about Auburn playing George Mason or Memphis playing Vanderbilt? Like that, to me, when you are trying to compete with football and you're trying to compete with the NBA and you need to try to find a way to get people excited about the sport, letting the opening day be something where the biggest talking point is like Stetson beating an unranked Florida State team. That's a problem to me. And it's something that I think is easily fixable too.
Well, let's also explain that tomorrow night should have been the Champions Classic, and it's not because it's voting day. So generally, at least we have that to look forward to. Now, the rest of the week stinks. It's worse than it was tonight, the next 3 nights, and then at least we get Michigan State Gonzaga on Friday night.
The problem is what happens is everybody wants to play on opening night. So every top 25 team played on Monday night, and you're not going to be able to play like back-to-back nights. You don't want to play two games in 3 days. So no one's playing again until Friday or the weekend. So we get this, we have Everybody plays on Monday night. No one plays a meaningful game. And then we have 4 days where it's just like, okay, we have whatever.
This is like TV, and I don't know where you're going to go with this, but to me, TV has to get involved, and it should be easy on an ordinary year without voting day or anything like that, because you have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are 3 days. There's no football. Baseball is over.
Well, there's football on Thursday, but Tuesday and Wednesday, right?
Well, actually, the Thursday games that have happened, I wouldn't call that football.
True. That is a very good point. That is a very good point. But I think that there is something that can be tapped into there. And you're 100% right. There's a reason why the ACC Big Ten Challenge is a Tuesday and a Wednesday night at the end of November, right? There's a reason why the Champions Classic is on Tuesday nights. I think, and it's got to be.
What do you do? Go ahead. How do you fix it?
So to me, I think that I know that you have a specific idea, right? But I think what you need to do is allow more exhibition games and do things like Tennessee and Gonzaga did this year, where you have like a pay-per-view non-conference game where you can have an exhibition where coaches can go out there and figure out some of the stuff that they want to do, right? I feel like the situation that you run to, and this is from like just talking to coaches, but I feel like every coach in college basketball hates their team at the end of October. Is there anybody that is like, yeah, you know what? I really like what we have right now.
You know who really liked this team?
Who?
Jamie Dixon. I talked to him yesterday. He did.
How about that? That's funny.
He loves his team.
That's funny. But I do think that allowing them to have more of a chance to get real solid tests that don't matter, so that the first time that you're actually going up against a team in a competitive setting on national television of that caliber is a game that doesn't count. And I think that would allow coaches to feel a little bit more comfortable to be able to say, like, you know what, instead of having these, what are like, let's be frank, right? I'm looking at Illinois playing Eastern Illinois right now. That is essentially a preseason game, like when an NBA team goes and plays a bunch of like Australian club teams or something like that, right? That's kind of the same thing. It's just that our games in college basketball count. So create more exhibitions that don't count, that allow coaches to be able to feel more comfortable about what they're doing, so that when the season starts and the games do count, we can get like a bang right off the jump, right?
I don't
have bye games.
And I don't think you need everyone. I think you need TV to get involved and have one heavyweight matchup every night for the first couple of weeks until we get to the MTE startup, right? Because then it's easy. Then we got them every night, whether it's Maui, whether it's Legends. I mean, some of them stink, but, for the most part, we get pretty good games. Here's what I would say. To me, it was easy this year. Like, Indiana plays at Kansas on December 17th this year. Bill Self just won a damn national title. I know he's got a different team coming back. He won a national title. Indiana's got everything coming back, and they bring in two really good freshmen. You don't think Mike Woodson would rather play that game right now, tonight? He would have rather play that game tonight. And to me, you force him. You just say, hey, we're going to play one of these. So they play each other. All you got to do is flip it. So Kansas isn't playing Omaha tonight. They play him December 17th. Indiana's not playing Morehead State tonight. They're playing him December 17th. I know they don't want to play each other this early in the season, but for the sake of college basketball, you do this, and you have to do it maybe every third year is basically what it comes down to. That the big boys, Scott Drew, love you, man, but like you got more job security than almost anybody in the country. You went out and played arguably the worst team in the country today, Mississippi Valley State. Come on, play somebody.
Yeah, it's something that'll be good for the sport, because the more attention that it gets, right? And that's how you get people hooked in. Right. That's how you get people locked in. When you have incredible basketball on the first night of the season, they're like, oh yeah, you know what, I need to watch this. Right. And the example
tonight isn't going to get people excited. And if tonight's not, tomorrow night certainly won't. Wednesday night certainly won't. Thursday night, I'm going to be excited because I'm going to be in Amherst, Massachusetts, watching the Big Towson tilt against Frank Martin, eating Antonio's pizza during the day. But yes, it's not a good first week, and it's got to be better. Every sport comes out with a bang, and at least comes out where people are excited. And tonight, yes, there was some excitement to it, only because we wanted to watch meaningful games.
But it's the diehards that are getting excited
Right.
about this,
That's
right?
right.
It's not
That's
it's
right.
not the general public. No
It's
one.
not getting somebody to leave an NBA game that's an NBA fan to go watch.
You're
Boot
probably
the
not
crap
getting a
out of
college
Jackson.
football fan to leave the field at 12 after dark to come and watch a college basketball game, right? That's what you're getting, the college basketball junkies,
Right.
but you already have the college basketball junkies. Like you and I, it doesn't matter what's on. We're going to watch it, right? The people that are watching this show right now, it doesn't matter what's on. They're going to watch it. And that's fine. Like what we're happy what we're watching. But if you want to grow this sport, if you want to grow this game, if you want to make it so that we don't have to sit here and every time a school changes a conference or every time a player goes to overtime elite, we sit here and like, you know what? I'm worried about the future of the sport. But if you don't want to hear that all off season, find ways to make it just jump off the bat, right? Well, you know what they always tell us, and when I used to write, it was the lead, right? That's how you get people drawn in.
Used to
Yeah,
write.
I used to. I was not very
People
good
say
at it,
that
but
about me too. Actually,
yeah,
I haven't written in a while.
but there you have your lead, right? You have your hook. You have the thing that gets people to draw in and convinces them to read the rest of the story. We don't have that in college basketball right now.
Speaking of leads, what was your lead tonight? What was your top storyline? Forget about again the lack of freshmen. What anything stand out to you?
So since I watched this entire game, and since I thought it was the biggest game of the night, I was a little bit underwhelmed by Auburn, despite the fact that they won by 18 points at home against a good George Mason team. I think that they are a team that's going to rely on having more length and athleticism than anybody, but I don't think that they're going to have more length and athleticism with than the people that they're going to have to play against at the highest level, right? Basically, what happened is that you have the same guards that we questioned all of last season running the show there, and you replaced number 3 pick Jabari Smith with Johan Traore or Alan Flanagan or whoever you're playing in the 4 spot, and then you replaced first round pick Walker Kessler with Jonai Broom, who he's good, he's a fine player, but he ain't Walker Kessler. He's not going to end up being the number, what is it, Kessler, like the 21st pick in the draft or something like that. He ain't going to be that. So you downgraded your 2 most important positions. And the guys that we have questions about, you're still going to have questions about because Katie is who he is. And because Wendell Green is who he is. And because Zep Jasper is who he is. Now, it could change once you get Chance Westry healthy. But I do think that my biggest takeaway was like Auburn kind of just looks like, okay. We're going to transition here because we have a guest joining us. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Stetson went into Tallahassee, knocked off Florida State. We're going to have Stetson head coach Donnie Jones on with us live as soon as we get back from this break. And we are now joined live from the Stetson team bus by Stetson head coach Donnie Jones, fresh off of an 83-74 win over Florida State in Tallahassee. Donnie, it's got to be feeling good, man. How's that bus ride? Like, does the pizza on the bus taste a little bit better after a win like that?
It does. It really is. Our guys are really excited, and a great place to go play. And obviously, so much respect for Leonard and Florida State. It's just incredible night for a team.
Coming in, Donnie, first game, you get a team like Florida State. And I know for you, the last couple of years have been tough. Pandemic, you had it going in the right direction after year 1 at Stetson. Then the pandemic kind of crushed you guys as much as just about any program. What did this win mean for you and for this program?
Well, it means a lot. Obviously, we had 9 guys coming back, Jeff, and we lost some really key players to the transfer portal. We picked up some guys that we felt added and fit for culture as well. And, it's been a great group to coach. It's been the most enjoyable group I've had since I've been here. These guys love to play, come to work every day. And tonight, they just came out and put it all together. So it's been great. It's a great start for us.
Tell people the story a little bit of Luke Brown. I mean, he had an unbelievable game tonight. Couldn't miss. 27 points was kind of the key to the win. Transfers in from Ball State. How were you able to get him to Stetson?
Yeah, well, our relationship started a while back. Obviously Luke had signed with us and came to Stetson and left after the first semester. He was here about 3 weeks and went back home and enrolled in Ball State and then obviously put his name back in the transfer portal this spring. And we lost a couple guys and his family called us and we were able to get Luke to come back. So it's been a blessing to coach him. He's a great kid, a great worker, fits what we do, and obviously plays with such great confidence on the floor.
Hey, Rob, I was going to rent a place down near Donnie this year for a month. I'm getting out of the winter for a month. So I had it all set. Donnie had me hooked up, and then we decided we're doing Charleston instead. So we're not going to be able to see a Stetson game, but
looks like you dodged a bullet there, Donnie. Let's be honest.
I know. I had him right up the road there.
I would have been there all the time. I would have been there all the time. So what do you do now, Donnie, to try to, again, you get a win like this. What is the message to your team? Enjoy this for a couple days. I assume you got another bye game coming soon.
Yeah, we do. We played 10 of our first 12 games on the road, Jeff. And it's kind of interesting. We play everybody in the state. We'll play Florida. We got South Florida, and then we got UCF. So we're playing all four of the big schools in our state, which is a great opportunity for us. We want to recruit our state as well. And next week, which is pretty cool, we get to go to Ireland. We'll be in Dublin, Ireland for 6 days to play 2 games. So it's a great time, as you know, with a young team and new players. You get a chance to bond. And when you play these games, you get these kind of wins, just helps breed confidence with what you're doing. We'll enjoy it. We're not sure how to handle this yet. That'll be the next test for this young team. And we'll learn from it and enjoy it for more than 1 day. We'll enjoy it 2 days. For sure.
Well, Donnie, listen, man, I appreciate you joining us. Congrats on the win. And speaking of enjoying things, when you're in Ireland, make sure to enjoy a Guinness or two out there for me.
We definitely will. We're looking forward to it. So I appreciate you guys having me. Congrats.
Thanks, man.
A lot, Donnie. Heck of a win.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You got it. There he is, Stetson head coach Donnie Jones, fresh off their big upset win against Florida State. And certainly, listen, in Leonard Hamilton's defense, they were certainly shorthanded without Balba Miller, who's been suspended for 16 games by the NCAA. They've had some other injuries as well. Deontay Green may be out for the year. They've had a bunch of guys. Gainey's out. So, but you know what? Nonetheless, that's a hell of a win for a Stetson program that, has been trying to figure it out the last couple of years through the pandemic. I know Donnie well, talked to him throughout. And again, I'm sure this means a ton to him and his players.
Yeah, and shout out to our own Terrence Oglesby, who was on the call for that. It seems like he's on the call for upsets every time that he gets the game down there. So he's got Providence and Stonehill next, so you better watch out those. Those Friar fans. You better watch out. The Skyhawks are coming for you, man. T.O. is the king of the upset. All right, I just want to let you know that if you are a college basketball fan and you are not subscribed to the Field of 68 daily, then you are just doing it wrong, man. You're living your life wrong. It is a free newsletter. It comes out every single morning at 8:30 a.m. It is the best way for you to be able to sit, drink your coffee, and get caught up on everything that happened in college basketball. And I'll tell you what, Jeff, tonight, an hour just is not going to be able to cut it to cover everything that happened in the sport over the course of basically, I guess, the last 4 or 5 hours. So make sure you subscribe to the daily. The link is in the description below. And while you're down there, why don't you go pick up the almanac? I'll tell you this: Stetson was one of the teams that we wrote about. We wrote about all 363, but that's one of the teams that we said had a chance to be better than people thought. You know what they did? They went into Tallahassee and they won. You know what else we did? We wrote about Fairleigh Dickinson in the Almanac. You know what we said about Fairleigh Dickinson? I wrote about the NEC. I said that Fairleigh Dickinson was the sleeper in the NEC, and you got to watch out for Tobin Anderson teams because all those D2 transfers he brought with him were guys that could play. You know what they did? They went into Loyola Chicago, took Sister Jean to overtime, and should have won if it wasn't for a Christian Laettner shot at the buzzer to force the extra period, which is crazy. Shot of the night. All right, we had a couple of big coaching debuts at Blue Blood programs. So, you know what? I'm going to start with this. Jon Scheyer at Duke. It was weird seeing him on the sidelines, but playing without Dariq Whitehead, playing without Derek Lively, playing with a team that had kind of been banged up throughout the preseason, a whole bunch of new freshmen, transfers coming in, new head coach. They went out and they beat a tough, physical, old, talented Jacksonville team. They got a front line with two SEC guys on their front line. Jacksonville, like, they're no slouch. They're going to be a team that compete in their conference. And Duke handled them. They gave up 44 points. I was worried about Duke's defense. They gave up 44 points. What was your biggest takeaway? Jon Scheyer, his first real head coaching appearance.
I would say, to me, it was the fact that they were still able to win against a Jacksonville team that was picked second in its league and able to win fairly handily. You know, they played well out of the gates. Jacksonville gave them a little bit of problems. Mark Mitchell really impressed me. You know, he was one of those guys that we didn't see a lot in the circuit because he was hurt. So this was kind of my first chance to really see him. And I love him, man. The energy, the toughness, the intangibles, everything he brings to the court. Roach looked pretty good, and he made shots. Proctor did not. Tyrese Proctor, their freshman, he struggled a little bit. But I just feel like once you get live, and I don't know what it's going to be. Like when Whitehead and Lively come back and get 100%, we may be talking ACC play before that. I don't know how long it's going to be and how long it's going to take them, because as freshmen, when you miss time in the preseason, it's important. It's important. It takes time. Not everybody's Zion Williamson, especially Lively, who's long and thin. So I was impressed. I like this Duke team. I thought this was a good win for them to fight through without two starters.
Yeah, I thought that the performance of Mitchell was really important because he's the guy that kind of connects everything in that roster, right? We know Jeremy Roach is going to be the point guard. We know that he's like, we can debate whether or not we think he's an All-American or if he's just like a really good ACC point guard. Regardless, he had 16, 6, 4 dimes tonight, made 4 threes. Like, he played well. If he gives that kind of performance every night this season, they're going to be fine. I'm not worried about Tyrese Proctor making shots. He is a good shooter. Those shots are going to start going in at some point. Everybody has bad shots or has bad nights. And if you're a 17-year-old as a freshman getting a start at Duke in your first game, you know what? You might have a little bit of the jitters. You might miss some shots early on. Not worried about that. Jalen Blake's made some shots off the bench. Jacob Granderson, that stroke's going to come around. So I'm not like all the other pieces are kind of there, right? But once Dariq Whitehead gets back and Derek Lively gets back, though, all of a sudden you have a point guard you can trust. You have guys that can shoot at the 2 spot.
Yeah.
You have Dariq Whitehead and Mark Mitchell are tough, physical, athletic kind of combo forwards that can be switchable, that can play 4-round-1, that can be those versatile pieces all around Derek Lively, who's going to erase everything at the rim. And you still got Kyle Filipowski, who we didn't mention, who happened to have a double-double tonight. Like, I came into the season kind of being like, yeah, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to trust Duke early on. I think they're going to take some lumps. And then you watch them here and you're like, hey, you know what? Maybe that's a really dumb thing to think, Rob.
Well, I mean, let's see. Their schedule gets tough soon, obviously, with Champions Classic starting up, and then they go to PK 85. So, they got some tough ones in here too. And I'm hoping they get Lively back at the very least for some of these big matchups, because selfishly, I want to see him next week in Indy.
I mean, it would be such a bummer if at the Champions Classic, and we're going to be there. That announcement is coming tomorrow. So keep it tuned. If you want to be on the Field of 68 daily, we're going to have some news there for you. It would be such a bummer if like Lively, Dariq Whitehead, and Oscar Tshiebwe all didn't play at the Champions Classic. That would suck.
Let's not even think negatively.
I'm not. You know what? I'm retracting that statement. I'm pulling it out of the air. I'm not going to put that into the universe. I'm not going to put that thought out there. How about Kyle Neptune? He had his first game as head coach, taking over for Jay Wright. He looked stylish on the sideline, but it was still.
I think Villanova should have played Duke tonight.
That would have been fun.
Wouldn't that have been a good game?
Now, you know what you need to be? You need to quit the field of 68, and you just need to be a promoter. Actually, you know what? You need to get these people to play those games on the field of 68.
Yes, that would be good too.
That would have been awesome.
That would be great too. But imagine that game. Like, then everybody would have watched it. I mean, you would have had everybody watching that game if you had Scheyer against Kyle Neptune. Kyle, listen, Kyle's kind of understated because I think of Scheyer a little bit and Kay and all that. And, obviously you're without Justin Moore here and now Cam Whitmore, your top freshman and maybe a top 5 or 10 pick. So you're without your 2 most talented players and you still beat a Big 5 team. You beat a decent team tonight coming out of the gates. And, luckily you got Dixon. He's been good. Caleb Daniels was very good tonight. Brandon Slater's Brandon Slater. And then they got to fill in those other couple pieces until those dudes come back. But if to me, you get Whitmore back soon, which you will, I still think it's going to depend on Justin Moore. Can he come back in January? Because I think if he comes back in February, it's too late. It's going to be too hard to throw him in there with it.
It's going to be so hard for him to get back up to the level of fitness that he needs to be in to play at the Big East level. Like that, to me, that's the biggest question. It's not like, will he come back to 100%? I'm not super concerned about like, oh, you tear your ACL, you lose a little bit of the quick twitch stuff because like Justin Moore is not someone that beats you with explosiveness, right?
Shoots the ball.
Yeah. Shoots the hell out of it, can create space, is crafty, big, strong, physical, right? Like I'm not super like it's not going to be the easiest thing, but I'm not super concerned about that. It's just a question of like, when is he going to be back to being Justin Moore as opposed to a guy wearing Justin Moore's jersey? That makes sense. But I'll tell you what, man, if Caleb Daniels is going to have 24, 10, and 4 assists and shoot 6 for 7 from 3, it might not matter. Exactly. Who cares? I will say this about Villanova is that I think one thing that I underrated in the preseason was losing Colin Gillespie, right? We talk about point guard play all the time and just kind of like the presence when that dude was on the court, right? Like there was a feeling when he was on the floor that everything was going to be okay, right? That you're going to find a way to get it done. Even if he was a guy that looked like when he came in, he looked like he should be playing in the America East instead of the Big East. He proved a lot of people wrong, proved a lot of doubters wrong. And losing that level of leadership, that level of confidence, having that coach on the floor at the same time that you lose your Hall of Fame head coach and you replace him with a guy that has spent 1 year as a head coach before this, like it's just, there's a lot of turnover. So to come out in your first game and just beat up on a rival like this that was impressive. Now, here's my question, Jeff.
You know what it is, Rob? Like, I think I was talking to a high major coach this morning, and he said, he's like, some teams are going to get plucked off today, like tonight. It's going to happen, especially with as much turnover as with the portal and some of the other things that have gone on in the offseason, right? You got NIL, so you got more distractions for a lot of these kids. So I think we thought there would be more upsets than there would be, or certainly closer games, and we'll get to TCU later. But there weren't. There really weren't. Like, most of these teams handle business coming out of the right away in the season opener today, which surprised me a little bit. I thought we'd have more close games and more upsets.
Yeah, and that was, I think that's part of the reason why we're sitting here and it's like, yeah, a lot of stuff happened, but there's not really all that much to talk about. Like did any top 25 teams lose? I know we still have some games going on, but I don't think any top 25 teams lost. So Zero. It's right. Yeah, that is impressive. And that's kind of a credit to the coaching staffs.
Yeah. Yeah. And to the players for being focused. And again, I'm sure they're ready to go, and home court advantage means more now. It means more coming out of the pandemic. These fans are so pumped up. I mean, my daughter is a freshman at Indiana, and she said, she's like, she got through it tonight after the game. She texted me. She said,
wait, your daughter goes to Indiana?
She does. Talia texted me, and she said it's the most fun she's had so far since she's been in college. And that says a lot because, she's been out a few times.
You turned her into such a hoops junkie. I love it.
It's insane.
I love it. She's such a hoops
out of control. I know she's gonna she came in like, a hockey girl, and I'm hoping at least Hoops is, on
Get
even
it in top three. Get college basketball in top three, and you'll be happy.
It's already in the top three. It's two. It's hockey is one, college hoops is two at this point. But she said the crowd was unbelievable. And I think that's the difference too right now. You've got crowds that are even hungrier because, they had it last year. Last year was the first semi-normal year in a few years. And this year is the first that it feels completely normal.
Yeah, last year was like normal-ish because we still had that period in December and kind of early January when the Omicron wave went through and games are getting canceled and like we had all this stuff getting shut down. That's why part of the reason why Providence had the record that they had, right? Like they played 3 less games in league play. And like, I'm okay. Look, Providence fans, you guys won. I'm not arguing that you shouldn't have won, but I'm just saying like it was not completely normal. Like this year, it feels like it is about as normal as you can possibly get. All right. So speaking of normal, the Blue Bloods are good. Goodman, are you surprised by that? Or that North Carolina, that Kansas, and that Kentucky are all top 10 teams, top 5, depending on where you look.
It's so hard, Rob, to really determine how good any of these teams are yet.
Well, I wanted to ask you. So Kentucky, without Oscar Tshiebwe, taking on Howard, completely overmatched. They win by 32 points.
Without Severe Wheeler, without Damian Collins.
Yeah, without like some really Severe Wheeler might have been an addition by subtraction. But
hey.
I mean, Field of 68 podcast host CJ Frederick led the team in scoring. How about that?
Came out firing, and so did Reeves.
Yeah. How upset do you think T.O. and Randolph Childress are that like they're nowhere near the best shooters on the Field of 68 anymore? I think that hurts them in their soul just a little bit.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah, they're not going to be happy about this, are they?
No, they are not going to be happy about this. So
Kentucky, listen, here's the thing. I watched a bunch of Kentucky, and here's what I'll say is like, I was kind of worried about them going into the year because of their spacing more than anything, and thinking about it and saying to myself, all right, like Oscar's got to be in the court. I know I've heard the reports that he's stepping out and shooting a little bit better, but he is what he is. He's going to be down there on the block. And Jacob Toppin, I've heard the same thing, but I'll believe it when I see it, right? Severe Wheeler, kind of a non-shooter at the point. Well, if those three are going to play, all right, that means one of Reeves or Frederick plays. You're not playing them both. And, to me, again, how do you figure this team out? Are there enough shooters is basically what I'm getting at. I think there are. Toppin looked like he's gotten better. Frederick and Reeves can play together at times. And I love Casey Wallace. I freaking love that.
I was just about to say, look, if you're worried about Severe Wheeler shooting, well, this kid just had 15, 8, and 9 dimes as the starting point guard. Kason Wallace did. So we talk about the freshman performances, like that's right up there with Grady Dick in terms of the best that you're going to see tonight. Yes. And look, to me,
almost said a triple
he's the guy. Yeah, to me, he's the guy that is like kind of the difference maker there, because if he's out there and like, look, I make jokes, all due respect to Severe Wallace. He led the SEC in assists last year. He averaged 14 and 7 on a bad Georgia team. Like that dude's a player. I think it's more just like when he's out there with Oscar Tshiebwe, the way that you can match up with Kentucky, it makes them a little bit more beatable. Whereas I think if you put Kason Wallace out there, all of a sudden,
he's not a great shooter either, by the way. Wallace is not a proven shooter, but I think he'll get better.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit different where
they go under every ball screen with Wheeler. They're not going to do that yet with Wallace.
Yes, and he's bigger, and if he gets in the lane, like he's going to be someone that can like finish over stuff. I think he's a little bit more of a dog that lets you be a little bit more switchable different.
It actually works, Rob. It works because they're different. So like,
here's what I was going to say is like all of a sudden you have Wallace at the 1, you could play Toppin and Livingston together, and you put anybody else at the 2, whether it's CJ Frederick, whether it's the Reeves kid, whether it's Adu Thero, I don't know, Adu Thero, however you pronounce his last name.
I don't think he's going to play.
But what I'm saying is all of a sudden you have a team that is basically like 1 through 4 switchable.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And I don't know if we've seen that at Kentucky in a while. So I love what I saw from Kason Wallace. And I do think I'm I'll be very curious to see how that role kind of plays out moving forward. You mentioned Grady Dick. You know what made me so happy?
Go ahead.
I saw the tweet. It came through. CJ Moore put it out there. Kansas started KJ Adams at the 5, Jalen Wilson at the 4, Grady Dick at the 3, Kevin McCullough at the 2, DeJuan Harris at the 1. We got the full small ball lineup. We got the full small ball lineup from Bill Self. I was so happy when I saw that. Only because
Norm Roberts was coaching, so he probably said, "The hell with it. I'm doing this."
Yes, I love it, man.
Bill can't tell me what to do. I'm going small, like old St. John's days or something. But it's their best lineup right now. It's their best lineup because they don't have a proven big. The bigs aren't good enough yet, and they're hoping maybe they eventually get there. But they're not. The freshman isn't. He's kind of more of a rim running defender.
Ernest Ude. Like they don't have the Bill Self loves those guys where you can scheme stuff for them, where they just kind of turn and seal and lay the ball over their shoulder, and you just scheme layups. Right? David McCormick was great at it. Udoka Azubuike was probably the best that we've seen Bill Self have at it. You think of guys like Landon Lucas, Field of 68 podcast host. You think of guys like Cole Aldrich, right? Guys that can just turn, seal, put their ass into someone, catch the ball late in. And they don't like none of the bigs that they have can do that. And I think that this team, Bill mentioned this to me when we talked for the Almanac, that it's basically what he ran at the start of the 2020-21 season, right? Do you remember that they started the season out really hot? They beat Kentucky in the Champions Classic where there was nobody there. And they played Jalen Wilson a lot at the 5 with those lineups. Now, I don't think you're going to play him at the 5 with these lineups. I think you put KJ Adams there, but he's done it before, and he's shown the willingness to play small ball. And to me, like that could get exciting right there, especially like Jalen Wilson had 19, 11, and 7 assists. Grady Dick had 23 tonight. So that
Juan Harris was good.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, Nebraska Omaha is not.
They're not good. They're not good.
They're not great.
Most of these teams tonight, and again, we say that we'll get to probably Indiana a little bit. They beat Morehead State. They're picked to win their league, but they're a completely different team this year than they were a year ago. Mm-hmm. So Indiana had that advantage over Preston Spradlin's team. So
they're also picked to win the league because the Ohio Valley lost Belmont and Murray State, and it's
exactly
horrible.
Right.
Horrible.
Right. So, to me, again, you got to take a lot of these games with a grain of salt. You beat who you're supposed to beat, and there's something to be said for that. That's important right now. However, it's going to step up at some point. Every team, most of these teams have, they'll probably have anywhere from 4 bye games to 6 bye games, out of their, most of them have like 11 or 13 total non-conference games. So, it'll start to ramp up. I understand they want to start slow. It's just, again, you look through it and you're like, couldn't we have gotten one that everybody wanted to watch? Mm-hmm. That everybody was watching the same game and just saying, like, I have to have one screen on this.
You know what we missed coming into this game or coming into this this night? I didn't even realize it. I didn't even put it together. We missed the Florida Gulf Coast revenge game.
Yeah, no, USC just lost.
Yeah, USC just lost. USC and Andy Enfield just lost to Florida Gulf Coast and Dunk City 74-61 in their own building. You talked about not getting upsets. There you go, Jeff. There's your upset, baby. There is your upset. All right, there's one more game that I want to talk about. Real quick, North Carolina struggled a little bit with Wilmington. We've seen them have issues with distractions before and look unimpressive. I'm not terribly concerned about that because they only allowed 56 points. And when we question North Carolina, what do we question? Whether or not they're going to play defense. I'm just a little bit concerned. We saw they had 6 points off their bench tonight.
That's it.
Wow. Yeah, 6 points off the bench. So if you can't get any kind of bench production playing against UNC Wilmington, not only that, they had 6 points off the bench and Pete Nance took 3 shots from the floor. So if you're not going
baffling to me, that baffled. I mean, to me, again, if I'm RJ Davis, if I'm Caleb Love, if I'm Armando Bacot, the most important thing for me is to make sure Pete Nance is happy right now. and to make sure he fits in, because they already got to the national title game last year. They're playing for a national title this year. Anything less than that is probably disappointing for those three guys, especially. So to me, it's all about Pete Nance right now. Can he be not Brady Manic, but can he be a guy that, again, you're going to make sure you acclimate, get him in, get him feeling good, and get him to be productive right out of the gates?
I love that this is where we end up. This is what college basketball is. This is what the field of 68 after dark is, where we say Pete Nance, not RJ Davis, not Caleb Love, not Armando Bacot, not the three All-Americans. The guy that transferred in from Northwestern is the piece that makes it all work for the team that made the national title last season, the preseason number one team in the country. I love it. And you know what? I don't even think you're wrong. Like, I don't even think that you're wrong. No, but that just kind of stood out was their lack of depth. I want to ask you real quick, and then we can kind of move into some of the superlatives and other things from tonight. Memphis went into Vanderbilt and smacked them around. I don't even know what the final score was. I think that they won.
That's your boy.
Yeah, they ended up winning by 20.
The crap out of your boy. You
did, man. They did. Like
Stackhouse is John Wooden to you.
Not John Wooden, but the Duke and really close. And so they ended up winning 76-67. I got the box score, but they were up by 20 in the second half.
And he couldn't score.
They could not score. It was so let me ask you this. This is the way I wanted to phrase it.
Go ahead. How do you want to set me up for this one?
No, does this say more about how good Memphis is, or does this leave you questioning Vanderbilt? Because to me, I come out of this like Memphis might be really, really good.
I come out of it saying Vanderbilt's going to stink.
Okay, fair enough.
That's what I come out of it saying is Vanderbilt, like, they took a step last year, but like people want to act like they've arrived. Like, take a look at what they did under Kevin Stallings 12 years ago. That run they had, where they had John Jenkins and some of those dudes.
Jeffrey Taylor, put some respect on the man's name, Jeff.
I'm telling you, like, they were.
Hey, can I ask you a question? When Vanderbilt made the NCAA tournament as a 4 seed and they ended up getting upset in the first round, who knocked them off? Was it Field of 68? I love Steve Prohm.
Yes, it was.
Shout out to Steve Prohm.
I mean, they made the tournament again. Listen, you know, my big problem was that they fired Bryce Drew after 3 years and after the AD took over and didn't go to a practice, and he fired him after a month. I'm not saying Bryce Drew would have gotten it going there, but all I know is he went to the tournament in year one, and yes, they didn't win a game in the SEC the year he got fired, but they didn't have Darius Garland. And last I checked, Darius Garland's pretty damn good.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Right, pretty good.
He's not bad. Yeah, he's not bad. I know I do think that Jerry Stackhouse is a good coach, and I actually think that Vanderbilt's going to find a way to kind of turn things around a little bit. I'll tell you this. How about this for a stat?
Go ahead.
DeAndre Williams. He's 26 years old. He's a former 5-star prospect. He's the guy. If he's playing, you want to bend on Memphis, and if he's not playing, you want to fade Memphis. And this is why. They are 7-7 since he's been there without him in the lineup. With him in the lineup, they are 36-12.
Yeah,
and a lot of those wins, most of those wins were tough conference games, some postseason stuff, an NIT championship run. It's crazy when you think about it. DeAndre Williams is older than Jason Tatum. DeAndre Williams is older than John Fanta and Kevin Sweeney, who host the show on this network and are full-time media professionals. I mean, Kendrick Davis had 16-6 tonight. I thought that we know what we're going to get from them defensively, and I thought that they looked much better than I expected on the offensive end of the floor. So I wanted to give a little shout out to Memphis there.
Yeah. No, listen, I'm with you. All right. So somebody in the chat wants to know.
Well, no, let me tee up that question. That's where I was about to go next.
I was going to tee it up to you, but you can
from the YouTube chat. No, it's going to you, man. You're the one that pegged. So here's what happened last year. Goodman pegged Providence as he said that they were the luckiest team in the country. I think in like a week and a half into the season.
I was right
because of the way that their schedule kind of shook out, and like you probably weren't wrong. Like they happened to play teams when their best player wasn't available. Just scheduling quirk. It happens. It's college basketball. A week after that, Ken Palm unveiled his like luck index, and Providence was number one, and it became this huge national thing. So Ken Palm is a fraud in the YouTube chat. Wanted to know, Goodman, Who is the luckiest team in college basketball this season? I think I know who you're going to say. There's only one answer here.
Huh?
There's only one answer here.
Really?
Yeah.
There's only one. Providence. I'm going back to the well. I'm going to Providence again.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm still the luckiest team. And Cooley called me this morning, and honestly, he just sounded lucky. He sounded like he knew the luck was going to be at his side again this year with the portal.
So here's what we need. We have a merch store, by the way. So if you're an Illinois fan and want to get something like a Daddy Brad shirt, in the next couple days, we're unveiling a whole bunch of new designs that are coming out in that merch store. Field68.shop. Link is in the description below. One of the things that I'm going to put on there is a Friar shirt, but instead of the dot on top of the I, it's going to be a 4-leaf clover. You go with that?
Nice.
I'm going to get one of them. I'm going to have Ed Cooley sign it. I'm going to wear it every day for the rest of my life.
Eddie will wear it. Are you kidding? Eddie will wear it, guaranteed.
I love it.
Wear it on the sidelines.
I love it. All right. So the real answer that I was going to have there is the top 25 team that I am the most concerned about after the first day of games, and that is the TCU Horned Frogs. They played Arkansas Pine Bluff. They got down by 20 points in the first half. They came all the way back. They took a lead, but after missing the front end of a 1-and-1 when they were up 73-72 with 6 seconds left, Pine Bluff came down, missed a floater at the buzzer that would have won the game. They actually got a pretty good look. So how worried should we be about TCU right now?
I mean, again, going for my conversation with Jamie Dixon, where he was like gushing.
I love him, man.
On his team.
I love him.
Very un-Jamie Dixon-like. Very un-Jamie Dixon-like to do that. He's usually very even keel, and he really, really likes his team. And again, part of the reason he likes his team is because he envisioned having Damian Baugh today. And Damian Baugh did not play for them. And Damian Baugh, like I remember when he came into Memphis, I remember talking to Mike Miller and Penny Hardaway, and they both thought he could potentially be a one and done. They thought he could be their best pro that year. And that team included James Wiseman at that time. He was ineligible, but Baugh changes their team. He takes a lot of the pressure off Mike Miles. He changes their team. Now, again, that's no excuse why they were down 20 and had to fight from behind and beat Pine Bluff today. All the credit goes to Solomon Bozeman there, Pine Bluff's head coach, and their team. But
they made 10 threes in the first half. That's what it was. They caught they couldn't miss. I think they made their first 7 or something like that. They couldn't miss.
TCU was 4 for 21 from 3.
Yeah,
so
only made one in the first half.
I am a little worried, because it's sometimes what happens is TCU blasted the crap out of Alabama in a scrimmage, and it humbled Alabama and their young guys. And it's what Nate Oates needed for those guys, right? To be able to tell them, like, you're not that good. Look at that veteran team that just kicked your ass. Well, that veteran team that kicked their ass then started feeling probably a little bit better about themselves. And realistically, what's TCU really, kind of like Indiana, a little bit like, what have you guys really done to prove? I had them ranked, I think, 12th. I moved them up to 12th this morning, TCU. And what have they done to really justify that? Nothing other than return a bunch of guys from a pretty good team. That's it.
And the question with teams like that is always, okay, so how did you get better? Yeah, you brought everyone back, but how did you go from being a team that was a 9 seed that probably should have picked off Arizona in the second round of the tournament to being a team that we're saying, like, you know what, you got a chance to compete with the likes of Baylor and Texas Tech and Kansas at the top of the Big 12. And it's not getting down by 20 points in the first half at home against the team that came into the season ranked 361st in Ken Palm. Goodman. That's the thing to me is like, look, those Arkansas directional schools are never going to really be all that good, but Pine Bluff is like very, very, or was expected to be very, very bad. So credit to them for showing up. I think you're correct. I think they dodged a bullet, and this had a lot more to do with Baugh being out, Miles being he was cramping up in the second half, and just kind of like the weird lineup situations you were like. TCU doesn't have great guard play regardless, and they don't really have great shooting. So it kind of is what it is there. All right, let me ask you this. Who are you? Is there someone else that you're more concerned about? Like, we can talk a little bit about Auburn. We can talk a little bit about Creighton if you want to.
I think we have a special guest, though, coming on now.
Right now?
I could be wrong. I know you don't know this. This is a surprise guest for you.
All right, bring him on. Bring him in. Hey.
All right, there he is, fresh off the first win as the official head coach of Duke University. You've had other wins, Jon Scheyer, but my guess is they didn't taste quite as good as this one did. Correct?
Yeah, I don't know that those wins went down in the record book, and so
You don't get those.
no, and rightfully so, by the way. So,
Yes.
but
Yes.
it felt good to get the first one under our belt. Our guys did a great job, and great to get a win.
So now
Congrats.
that you move one seat over, right? What was you can think about what it's going to be like, but what was the biggest difference for you now, knowing like, hey, okay, this is my team. I'm the one making the decisions. I'm the one that has to argue with the officials over calls and decide who's going in and who's coming out. Like, did anything kind of stand out that you didn't expect?
I've had the experience before of coaching, but I think it's more just the everyday, preparation that goes into, preparing for an opponent and making sure you're, touching everybody on the team. The scope is more full. I guess that's the best way to put it, right? As an assistant coach, you have pretty clear responsibility, whether it's your, excuse me, whether it's your position group or whether it's the particular scout. So for me, I think that's been the biggest adjustment. But one game under my belt, one game under our team's belt, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more challenges along the way.
How do you celebrate? What was the celebration? Did they pour water over you in the locker room? Anything tonight?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. They got me with water, and cold water, man. Like my body kind of went into shock for a second. I'm not gonna lie. I know I sound soft. My mom and my dad would probably be making fun of me right now because I'm supposed to be, this toughness from Chicago, being in the cold. But
you went to
not easy.
You went to Glenbrook North. You weren't tough.
Look, we're tough from Northbrook, man. Don't sleep. That's what happens if you sleep on Northbrook. I'm just telling you. But yeah, they got me with the water tonight, though.
Hey, Mark Mitchell, I thought he came out and set the tone for you guys. And I hadn't seen him because he missed the AU circuit a good portion because he was hurt 2 summers ago. But how important is he and was he tonight for you guys?
Yeah, he's huge for us. Mark is just he's a utility guy. He's whatever you need in a given day, he can bring it, whether it's scoring, whether defense, rebounding, inside and out. I just like the confidence and aggressiveness that he's playing with. And I feel like he's, gone under the radar a little bit for whatever reason. And I've always been just in the recruiting process. For me, we pinpointed him really early on. And, he's just a winner, just knows how to play. They call him Easy. That's his nickname. It's because he's easy to play with. Yeah. I always joke with him, just don't be easy to guard, and then we'll be okay.
Dariq Whitehead, Derek Lively obviously didn't play tonight. Do you have any idea when you're going to be getting back?
Not yet. Derek has a shot at being back on Friday for our game. The next step is, for both these guys, it's the health piece, but also shape, and then playing against contact, where the first time that's happening isn't playing a game. So Derek has a definite shot for Friday, and then Dariq, he's able to start to do contact now. So we'll build up his shape and contact and progress him along.
I know all about having to get into shape, John. That's one of my expertises.
Have you done that yet?
No, not even close.
So, hey, John, have you talked to Kay about coming to your games? Like, is that something that you think he will eventually come to a game, sit in the crowd, be able to support? Like, have you had that conversation with him at all? Because I know he said, he was like, I don't know if maybe I'm missing this, but I thought he said, I don't know if I'm going to go to any of his games, where we saw, Roy went to some game. He went to a lot of games at Carolina last year, all over the place. I think Jay Wright will probably be at Villanova games. Is that a conversation? Do you want him there?
He can come anytime. He's always welcome. It's first of all, it's not. Have you been in Cameron Indoor Stadium? It's kind of tough to
A few times.
have a secluded spot. I think that's the first thing. But secondly,
He can have
we're
my
in constant
seat.
communication. I'm sure he'll come to our games. But it's tough for him being in Cameron or being anywhere because of the attention that he gets.
Yeah, that's what it's like for me when I go to Cameron Indoor Stadium, John.
Hey, by the way, are you upset that I ranked you the 11th best recruiter in the country?
Wait, sorry. Did I break up there? Can you hear me
Yeah.
now? Okay.
Yeah, I got you. Did you hear my question?
No, ask again.
I said, are you upset at me for ranking you as the number 11th best recruiter in the country?
There are certain things where you use it for motivation. Other things you just let it go right out the window, and you don't even worry about what something. So,
So you're saying you don't worry about my opinion at all?
No, I mean, if Dauster said that, maybe I would, be heard or think about it a little bit more. But once you said it, it's like one in one ear, out the other.
So, what's your biggest question mark with this team? What is the one? I know when we talked in the offseason, you said we got to be a really good defensive team. That's got to be something that really is important. I thought you were tonight for the most part. Is that still something that you need to hang your hat on? Is there something else other than health, obviously, that's got to get that you got to get fixed?
I just think naturally we need to, learn how to play with each other. And you're trying to find a lot of our guys, they're still figuring out who they are as players. And so you're trying to play to those strengths while they're figuring out what those strengths are, if that makes sense. And, with Derek's injury, we haven't had our full team together yet. So, honestly, who we can be or where we need to build, I'm anxious to see that myself. Like, I'm just looking forward to getting Derek and Derek back in the mix. And I think we found some really good things that we may not have found otherwise. But it's our defense. And then how can we, personalize it even more with who we are and, November 7th versus December 7th versus, January 7th and on. So I think that's the biggest challenge for our group as the season evolves.
Last one I got for you, John. Jeremy had 16, 6, and 4 tonight. Point guard, head of the snake, all the cliches in the world about how important that position is. You got a veteran in that spot that's been through a lot of battles. What have you seen out of him so far in terms of stepping into that leadership role, and what are you hoping to get out of him this season?
Yeah, I just think for Jeremy, he's, obviously what he did last year, especially, in the tournament. I think you can see what a special player he is. He can score, he can pass. The burden's on him every night. We need him to do that for us. And forget about the statistics or the scoring impact or the passing. To me, it was his presence tonight, his poise, his determination that really set the tone for the rest of the group, because he's been through it all. He's been through it with me. We've been through it together. And that's going to be really key for us, moving on.
Hey, did you give Kyle the go-ahead to wear your number, by the way? I thought your number was hung in the rafters. I didn't realize anybody was going to be able to wear your number again.
It's not up there. But if he keeps getting double like tonight, I'm great with him wearing my number. So that's a nice touch. Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen, congrats. First official win that goes in the record books tonight for Jon Scheyer. Congrats. Thanks for joining us on the Field of 68 After Dark, and we'll see you next week in Indy.
Appreciate you guys. We'll see you there.
You got it.
Thanks, John.
All right, fellas. Take care.
All right. There you have it. Jon Scheyer, Duke head coach. Still weird. I don't know when it's going to become normal.
Weird, it's so weird. The first Final Four I ever covered, Jon Scheyer won the national title. The first one I ever covered. And now he's here and he's jumping on with us on Field of 68 After Dark, the show that we started as the head coach at Duke. It's just like, is this real life?
Well, it's cool in a way. I mean, it's cool. Listen, I'll give you one better. I broke the story of when Jon Scheyer committed to Duke. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I mean,
well, you're really old, so like we should not be surprised by that,
right? But I mean, it's weird. Again, tonight was just like, oh shit, all right, Roy was gone last year. We kind of got used to that. And now it's like Kay's not there and Jay Wright's gone. And we know there's going to be guys following them next year. I don't know who it's going to be, but
it's not going to be Boeheim. He's never leaving. He's going to coach until he's 110.
It won tonight.
He's gonna coach it. He's gonna coach until Buddy Boeheim has a kid that is playing at Syracuse.
Buddy's gonna have a kid. Jim's gonna go until Buddy has a kid who plays for him. He's gonna coach his grandson. Unbelievable. Oh boy. What else? So
here's a question I got for you. All right, let's get back on track. I want to know. We could talk about Creighton on tomorrow's show. I'm going to save that one because they ended up pulling that out. But I want to know the most impressive performance that you saw tonight. Like, what was the one player that did something where you're like, okay, that can change what this team can be? Who really stood out to you?
Who really stood out to me? It might have been Grady Dick, because when I saw Grady Dick in the summer, he didn't blow me away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was 6'8" either. When I saw him a year and a half ago in Charlotte, where was I?
He looks 6'8" now.
He is 6'8". He is 6'8", and he didn't shoot it that well when I saw him, and I was just like, yeah, like he's a good player, but I didn't think he would be that good. And when I talked to Bill Self recently, he was like, yeah, he can be like a Kyle Korver type. Well, like if he can shoot it that well like Korver, and he's got that kind of juice that he had tonight.
I was going to say,
right.
Kyle
Korver doesn't have that.
Yeah,
now, I don't know if he can go by dudes. I don't know if Grady Dick can go by guys in the half court yet. But you know what? The bottom line is if he can give you that second option, offensive option with Jalen Wilson, and it's not on Kevin McCullough or DeJuan Harris, like that's the key, because neither one of those guys, they might be able to give you 15 on a given night, but they're probably going to average somewhere between like 8 and 12, I would think, both those guys. So you got to have Grady Dick and Jalen Wilson be consistent. You know, between the two of them, they got to probably average 35 points a game.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So I don't know if you had a chance to see the Illinois box score yet tonight. Have you seen it?
No.
Coleman Hawkins
had a good game.
Coleman Hawkins, 23 points. Coleman Hawkins, 12 rebounds. Coleman Hawkins, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block, 5 for 8 from 3 in 24 minutes. Now, I need to see that, a performance like that.
As Hummel says.
Against someone better than, I know. I didn't know if I can't remember when Hummel said that, so I don't know if it was on the record. So I didn't want to repeat it. It was on? What did he say?
It was on the record. He said he does it against directional schools.
Yes, exactly. Against Eastern Illinois. And that's why I was going to say, if we get a performance like that from Coleman Hawkins in Big Ten play against one of these like big non-conference opponents that they have, then we can sit here and say, like, you know what, we got to start taking Illinois really seriously. So that's what kind of stood out to me more than anything else.
Absolutely. I think, probably another one. I'm trying to think of another one for me that stood out today. There weren't a ton of like big time freshman performances. There were some decent other, like, again, you look down and you're like, all right, Creighton struggled a little bit. They didn't look great tonight against St. Thomas of Minnesota. Virginia didn't look great against NC.
So let me give you my take on that. Let me give you my take on Creighton, since we have a couple minutes here that we got to get through. I watched a lot of that game because it came on the stream that I had up after the UConn game ended. So I watched most of the second half.
Yep.
And I thought that the reason why St. Thomas was able to hang around had a lot to do with the fact that, one, they shut the hell out of it, right? And two, they run this kind of like spread motion offense with a bunch of like really skilled guys that can kind of put Ryan Kalkbrenner in difficult positions where he has to defend on the perimeter. And they were really well coached, and they made a whole bunch of shots. And Creighton shot like 8 for 29, I think it was, from 3. So Creighton got good looks. They didn't go in. RJ Nembhard didn't really play all that well. And then St. Thomas just made a whole bunch of shots, and Creighton found a way to get it done at the end. So I don't I'm not sitting here worried about Creighton. As someone that said, I think that Creighton can find a way to win it.
Yeah.
You know what? If you have any questions in the chat right now, fire away at us because we have we got to get through a couple minutes here. And we need stuff to talk about. So give us topics to talk about. All right. You know what? While we wait, let's do 3 cheers. Let's do our toast of the night. Well, I guess it's 2 cheers tonight since it's just me and you.
I don't even know.
I got a beverage here. So while you're doing your thing, I'm going to get my toast of the night. I'm going to go with
all I have. Here's all I have. Is an old Fanta from last year. I have an old one. I don't even know. Like it may be gross. The Fantas go bad.
Fanta's always been bad.
Fantas go bad.
He's always been bad.
We've seen a Fanta go bad.
Oh, we've seen a Fanta go bad. That one I know was off the record. So my cheers is going to go out to Yuri Collins, the point guard at St. Louis, because I don't think enough people realize like there is a stud playing in the state of Missouri, and he does not play for Missouri. He plays for the St. Louis Billikens. He had 14 assists and no turnovers tonight against our. You know what? I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say who it was against. We can't. We can only hype up our former Field of 68 alums.
Really can't do it.
Yeah, it was Steve Prohm, Murray State. They beat them by 23. I think St. Louis is really, really good. Like I think that they are top 20 in the country, kind of good. I think that they are potential second weekend team, kind of good. I think that they are clearly the best team in the Atlantic 10, kind of good. And a lot of that has to do with Yuri Collins, but it also has to do with the fact that Gibson Jimerson, Javon Pickett, and Javonte Perkins combined for 54 points and hit 9 threes, playing 2 through 4. Yeah, so I was really impressed with that. All right, Dagan, jump in here real quick. Hit us with questions from the chat.
Hello. I'm here.
Hello.
He's back, baby.
I'm back.
What do you got?
I just lost it. It's from Mr. John Fanta. He's in the YouTube chat. St. John's won by 25 tonight, and Mike Anderson said it's a new team. Jeff Goodman, are you buying or selling?
It's definitely
you can answer too, Rob.
It's a new team. We know that. They brought in David Jones, had a hell of a game today, shot the hell out of it. And my boy Curbelo was back and throwing the ball. He picked up a technical, I guess, early.
It's 61 seconds in. That's what I was going to say. Curbelo, he didn't even make it more than a minute before getting his first technical foul of the season. What a legend, man. Come on. Build him a statue outside Carneseca Arena.
I might be buying him. I mean, again, it just depends. And Bello hit a 3 as well. So it just depends if he and Posh combined can make enough shots to keep him honest. Because I think David Jones is really, really good. And again, when you have 2 point guards who can move the ball, I was watching them for a little bit, the ball was humming around. I mean, so a guy like David Jones is going to get uncontested shots, and he's going to get them when the ball zips around like that with those two passing it. They're giving him the ball exactly where he needs it, right in the pocket. So there's no wasted motion to have to go down and pick it up. I think Curbelo was playing. He still had some turnovers when I was watching, but he was playing much more under control.
Yeah, and I know that people are going to see Merrimack and think that they just stink, but that is the best team in the NEC. So that's beating them by 25 is something that you should, as much as any of these wins matter, like that one matters as much. Robbie Hummel's in the chat. Did you see the question we got from him?
I did.
No,
I did.
Oh no. What?
Why do I have to do a podcast tomorrow with Jeff?
He does. He's got to do it tomorrow morning. And he only watched one game tonight. He did the Iowa game, and he's been driving back from Iowa, listening to this to try to pick up as much knowledge as he can.
No better place to be.
Yeah, exactly. Too bad. He's not going to learn anything. But
Courtney wants to know too. No Arizona talk tonight.
Yeah, Tubelis was dominant tonight. Mm-hmm. Absolutely dominant. And it's
finished. They finished while we were live.
Yeah, I feel like Tubelis has gone under the radar. Where we pumped up Pella Larson. We've talked about other guys and not even like, but I feel like Tubelis, he fell off last year because I thought he was banged up and hurt, and he was not good.
Sprained his ankle, right?
Yeah, and like I don't know if he ever got back, but it's funny. Nobody ever used it as an excuse. Not him, not the staff, nobody. It was like he didn't play well, and he took total accountability for it. And my take, like he is a tough MFer, and I don't know. I feel like he could average 18 and 10 this year, and it wouldn't surprise me. He could be the Pac-12 Player of the Year, and it would not shock me. Again, they probably have to beat UCLA and maybe Oregon to win the Pac-12 title. But Tubelis, to me, is a beast.
Yeah. Tubelis had 23, 7, and 6 assists. I think he had 26 and 5 in the first half. Umar Ballo had 18 and 9 tonight. Pella Larson, 16, 10, 4 assists. And your boy Adama Ball off the bench with a 14 spot hit 3 threes. Not bad. Not a
He's
bad
good.
night for
Adama Ball's got talent.
Yeah, not a bad night. I wonder if this is going to start turning into something like what Few has going at Gonzaga, in the sense that it's going to be a constant stream of players. Like, it's not really going to matter who leaves. There's always going to be a guy that's ready to go, that's going to step up and be ready to have an impact.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I mean, listen, he did a great job with them last year, and they're the type of team that's scary because they've now got a culture and they've got enough balance.
All right, I think we have one last guest joining us here. This is the reason why we've been waiting. Dagan, if you want to bring him in, it's I believe we have Keyontae Johnson, Kansas State star.
All right, perfect. We do this on the fly, so you guys got to bear with us, but this one will be worth it because,
Yes,
in my opinion, this is the best story of the day. And Keyontae, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Keyontae, Jeff Goodman, Rob Dauster here. Listen, nothing made me happier than watching you. Of all the games, of everything that happened today, I will tell you the best thing was seeing you on the court and doing your thing tonight. So
I really appreciate you for saying that.
Congrats, man. Congrats. So take me to like what it was like tonight. I mean, I don't know if any of us thought this day was going to come for you to get cleared, for you to get out there and find a team and be out there and doing, again, what you were doing in Florida. Take me through your emotions today when you walked out on that court.
Really, when they called my name out and get ready for tip-off, I feel like all my emotions had finally hit. I see my mom in the crowd crying. She was sitting like right under the basket, so I seen her, and then it hit me that I was like finally being able to do the thing that I love to do. And once the game started going, then I just started feeling more comfortable. The crowd was great tonight. So like my first shot, everybody in there was just yelling. So, and that's why I seen a big smile on my face, and it was just my teammates, everybody just loved, like showing how much they care and how much my work I put in. Just carried over today.
Did you really believe that this moment was going to happen again? Because I think Jeff said this, right? A lot of us felt like this was not something that we were going to see. Was there ever a point that you gave up hope that that you could get back on the court and play college basketball again?
I wouldn't say I gave up hope, but it was times where I just thought like I wouldn't be here. Like I wouldn't get another opportunity. Just going to doctor's appointment and hearing the doctor say I'm not gonna be cleared, and it's just I just never gave up hope. I always went to go get more opinions and different options from other doctors, and that's why I feel like when other doctors start saying good reports, that's what kept getting me going, just to pursue my basketball. So I wouldn't never say I gave up hope, but it was a time where I thought I would never be out here again playing college basketball.
What percentage do you think you're at now? Like, this is your first game back in a couple of years. I assume you're nowhere near what you were when you were back balling at Florida.
I'd probably say I'm at 60, 65, 70 right now. I'm just still trying to get the flow of the game. And everybody was saying, like, my whole teammates keep saying I'm back. Like, they feel like, but I know how I was playing at Florida, the high level I was playing. So I'll probably say like 60, 65% right now.
Yeah, they didn't see you then.
Yeah, sir.
Right? Your teammates now did not see you then.
Yeah, sir. But
it must be nice.
I feel like I've been working on my game. I'm just shooting it better than what I was at Florida. So I'm just showcasing that, and it just once I get everything else to carry along, then I feel like I'll be fine.
It must be nice to be 70% of yourself and still get 13 in your first game back in 2 years, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying thank you. Appreciate you.
So I gotta ask you about Coach Tang, because I know that he's worked with players that have had heart issues before. So what is what has that relationship been like between the two? Do you find support in him? It feels like that's kind of a bond that's been built between you guys.
Coach Shane, he's a great guy. I mean, he's real energetic. He always talks to me before practice, after practice, make sure I'm fine. And just feel like more comfortable with him, just knowing that he dealt with players the same way, the same thing that I had, and just knowing like that you have a lot of people on the coaching staff, including Coach Tang and Luke, our trainer, just knowing that they care for you, making sure I get the right treatment and everything before and after practice. So I feel like I feel like he's like a great guy, just staying on top of me and making sure I'm healthy. During the game today, he was just asking like, "Am I good?" I was telling him like, "Yeah." Like he always gonna make sure that I'm fine, or he won't overdo anything to put me in a situation like that again.
He's high energy, isn't he?
Yes, sir. I love it.
High energy. Imagine him and Scott Drew together. Those two were out of their minds how much energy they had. Hey, how hard was the decision? I know you had the insurance policy and all that. How hard was that decision to come back? Obviously, your love for the game supersedes everything else. You could see that with the decision you made and how much fun you have even tonight getting out there. But how difficult was the decision?
I say it was difficult at times, just like when I was going to the doctor's appointment when they said I wasn't going to be able to play. And it was like my mind was set like, okay, if I do this, then I could go ahead and start being a coach. I mean, Coach White had me saying I could be one of his GAs and stuff like that. Just hearing other options from different coaches. And then after a while, just knowing when I got cleared, it was easier for me to decide because obviously the doctors dealt with people that I had the same thing that I had. So they know what's good for me, what's best. And if they saying that I'm good and people around me feel comfortable with me playing the game, then I might as well just keep playing the game I love and just better myself to get on the league. And then hopefully I make more than what that insurance policy was.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Jared Butler, right? I mean, there's one that obviously I'm sure you talk to either him or people around him. And right. And you see him in the league. So I'm sure that gives you even more confidence.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, the doctor's telling me it's a lot of people in the league, like it's undisclosure. But just knowing that, like, it's people in the league with the same stuff, going through it, that's what another thing that gave me hope to keep going.
So did you lose it before the game? Did you lose it after the game at all? Or was it more jubilation after the game?
What you mean by lose it?
Lose it, like crying, like.
Oh no! I never dropped the tear. It was about before the game. I'll probably say like right before tip off. I was just sitting there thinking like, just wow, I made it here this far. Like 2 years, it's been a long time. Never would have thought I'd got here. So just like trying to hold in emotion because I didn't want to. We were finna get ready to play, so I couldn't like just start grinding on the court. But definitely, I mean, once I started going, then all the emotion just went away and I just felt free again.
All right, I got one last question for you, Keyontae, and my co-host would be very upset with me. His name is Terrence Oglesby. He's been talking about Naquan Tomlin nonstop for about the last 3 months. He had 14 and 8 tonight in 19 minutes. Tell me about this kid, because Jeff doesn't believe me. I'm telling him he's a player. Jeff doesn't listen.
Yeah, no, he's definitely that's actually my roommate. He ain't here right now, but he's definitely gifted, like real 6'9", 6'10", can move like a guard, can defend, athletic, can shoot. Like anything you ask him for, he can really do it. I mean, he only played basketball I think he started playing basketball 2 years ago for the first time, like actual like 5-on-5 collegiate basketball. So for him to do that 2 years ago and then playing how he's playing now is like real inspiring, just knowing like that he's really gifted and he can go places for sure.
Well, listen, we really appreciate you jumping on this. Like I said, man, I know it made your night. It made a lot of our nights, seeing you out there and seeing you smiling and seeing you now, and just keep having fun, man. Keep playing the game you love, because you know what it's like to get it taken away, and I'm sure you appreciate it more than ever right now.
Yes, sir. Nah, definitely. I appreciate y'all taking the time to interview me tonight.
You got it. There
Thanks, Keyontae.
Thank you. Former Florida Gator, now with Kansas State, and making the Wildcats a little relevant now, which I kind of like, Rob. I like having Kansas State relevant. It's better for that Kansas rivalry.
The Octagon of Doom, man. The Octagon of Doom. When that place, Yeah, when Frank Martin had that place rolling, that place was loud. When they won, I'm going to keep saying this. When Bruce Weber in 2019 won the Big 12, that place was rocking. So they love their.
Tell me that wasn't fun seeing him tonight. Like that was telling you that was the story of the night. Mm-hmm. We had the stories of the night. Think about what we had tonight. We had Keyontae Johnson, we had Jon Scheyer, we had Stetson, Donnie Jones,
and we had Robbie Hummel coming on questioning you about why he has to do a podcast.
Come on, Robbie, we're grinding it here.
Get it to done.
Just be careful.
Look,
I just driving, Robbie.
Yeah, don't crash. Dagan Hughes came here straight off of producing the Field of 12 After Dark. If he can do 2 shows back to back,
the problem is
he'll find a way to do a podcast.
Dauster, the problem is Hummel hasn't worked 2 straight days since last April, since the beginning of April. When he did the 3-on-3.
You know what? That's not fair because he played 36 holes of golf today. And that's hard. You have to walk. Yeah, you have
very difficult.
Right? He got a steps in. He got a steps in on day. Well, listen, this has been the first edition of the year. The Field of 68 After Dark was fun. It was awesome. We got into the afters, and we already have Dagan Hughes, our producer, yelling at us about it's time to wrap. That's when you know the Field of 68 After Dark is in full swing.
I didn't even give my toast of the night.
Who? All right, go ahead. Let's do it real quick. You got 15 seconds.
My toast of the night. Luke Brown, I mean, from Stetson, like that you beat Florida State, you started at Stetson, you transferred out, you came back, and that's one hell of a performance, my man.
My toast of the night is going out to everybody watching this right now because we're back, baby. Field of 68 After Dark is back. I couldn't be more excited. So for Jeff Goodman, for our producer Dagan Hughes, my name is Rob Dauster. This has been the Field